These warriors are a colossal achievement, and some believe the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century. But they are only the tip of the iceberg, because this ghost army only served as a guard detail for an engineering feat as fantastic as the world has ever known, the opulent tomb of Shur Hongdi.
Each statue stands between 5 feet 8 inches and 6 feet 2 inches tall, giants for the time. Some weighed up to 600 pounds. But it was the terracotta itself that sent shockwaves through the teams excavating the site. The clay had a hardness beyond anything they'd ever seen before, indicating that Shir Huangdi's artisans had developed a revolutionary new technology, blast furnace kilns that fired the statues at temperatures up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Archaeologists eventually uncovered 3 massive pits filled with the terracotta army guarding the first emperor's tomb.
The military armor is fairly specific. We can tell that the armor used was lacquered leather. We can see that people had cleats on the bottom of their boots to help them run in the mud. We can see the kinds of caps people wore and associate them with rank.
30-foot walls divided the massive complex, which stretches out for 7,000 yards into 3 parts, the outer city and inner city. His name was Liu Bang. Peace and stability returned to the empire. By the time he died in 195 BC, he had launched a dynasty that would thrive for nearly 4 centuries, the Han. The Han embarked on a wall-building campaign even more massive than Shir Huangdi's.
From around 200 BC to 200 AD, just about the time that Rome was dissolving as a republic, only to be reborn as an empire that would gobble up and transform the Western world, China was an empire that was consuming and transforming the East. During the Han Dynasty, the population of China grew to 50 million people. The empire went as far south as Vietnam, as far west as Afghanistan. It was massive.
An astonishing armada of Chinese ships crossed the China Sea before venturing west to Ceylon, Arabia, and East Africa. It was a fleet unlike any that had ever put to sea. Giant 9-masted junks escorted by dozens of supply ships, patrol boats, and transports for cavalry horses. Crew totaled more than 27,000 sailors and soldiers. This was the famed armada of the powerful Ming Dynasty, a herald to the world that after a century of Mongol domination, China was returned to its rightful rulers. At its helm was an unlikely admiral, a commoner from the outlying Yunnan province, who rose to become one of the most powerful figures of the Ming Dynasty. His name was Zheng He. It was an engineering challenge unlike anything a Chinese dynasty had ever attempted. He ordered 337 ocean-going ships. An additional 188 flat-bottom transports were converted for ocean travel. At the center of the enormous shipyard, 7 1,500-foot dry docks were separated from the Yangtze River by 25-foot-high dams. Once the ships were complete, the dams were opened, flooding the dry docks. The flagship of the fleet was a spectacular 9-masted vessel measuring 440 feet, nearly 1.5 times the length of a football field, making it the largest wooden ship ever built. Designed for stability, it had a flat bottom filled with heavy ballasts of stones and an innovative exterior rudder post that could be raised to reduce the ship's draft in shallow waters. Watertight bulwark compartments, inspired by the partition shape of bamboo stalks, stored drinking water and supplies and kept the ship afloat if the hull was breached. The second deck had living quarters for the crew. The kitchen, mess hall, and operations were on the third, while the fourth deck was used as a high fighting platform. Fully rigged, the flagships had 9 staggered masts, and 12 square sails of red silk soaring skyward. Other ships were armed with as many as 24 bronze cannons, capable of firing up to 900 feet. Their bows and sterns had reinforced high profiles for ramming smaller boats. Some ships carried horses or transported troops. Others were freshwater tankers, packed with provisions for up to 28,000 men.
We're talking about a really, really big fleet. It had as many soldiers and sailors on it as the Spanish Armada of 1588. It had about twice as many ships.
In 1405, the eunuch commander Zheng He set sail for the world. During his 28-year naval career, Admiral Zheng He visited 37 countries, traveled around the tip of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean, and commanded a single fleet whose numbers surpassed the fleets of all Europe combined. Zheng He's voyages established China as a superpower on the world's oceans. But in 1433, China's age of exploration came to a crashing halt. Zheng He suddenly died during a stopover in India, and the fleet was recalled to China. A new emperor was on the throne. In one stunning command, he would change the course of Chinese history. Despite China's total domination as a naval power, Zheng He's magnificent fleet was to be burned to the ground. It would be one of the great turning points in Chinese history. China was poised to seize control of the seas and colonize the world years before the Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, and British. Under the new emperor, all ocean-going vessels were destroyed. Even records of Zheng He's expeditions were torched. China's age of exploration was over. The open door slammed shut. The ships were gone, and the promise of international power and conquest was dead. The reason for the emperor's decision remains a mystery to this day. Like great dynasties before them, the Ming returned to the wall for protection. The result would be the most monumental feat of the entire Chinese Empire. A complex re-engineering of the Great Wall into the colossal structure we know today. The towers were built large enough to store food and arms and serve as the living quarters for soldiers. A staircase from the interior led up to the top of the tower, with small holes on each side of the wall for lookouts. The overall defenses were enhanced with a variety of features, including artillery. A new Chinese kingdom emerged, like none before it: Communist China.
Nothing symbolizes the enduring power and imagination of the Chinese more than this Great Wall. Of all of the civilizations that have reached the glorious heights of empire, only one has avoided the inevitable oblivion that follows. Emperors come and go, but for thousands and thousands of years, from the dedication and vision and resilience and brilliance of these remarkable people, they have pushed their civilization to triumph again and again and again, where others have simply morphed or dissolved or just faded away. At the dawn of humanity, the Chinese were here, and they are still here, and they ain't finished yet.